Is it helpful to hear other people's stories a lot of times? I know you guys hear me all the time telling stories. Okay. I had about 200, 300 students come in when I said, hey guys, I want to highlight you guys in the Bigger Pockets book. I had about 300 students email us and say, I want to tell you my story. Okay. And I only selected about 15 or so. Caleb Christopher is the first person. He's an amazing, amazing man. We all love him. We all adore him. So let's bring him on up here. How you doing, brother?
Fantastic. Good morning.
Good morning. You got your poncho on. I got my poncho on, bro. We're just ponchoed out. It's great.
AC's cranking. I'm in the basement, man.
Yeah. You have a basement?
Yeah. Basement office, baby.
This is great. I'm in my basement too. This is the best. You just crank the AC.
You've got a fantastic basement. Your ceilings are so tall. It feels like the whole house.
They're like 6.5 feet tall. I got to duck a little bit because I'm 7 foot tall.
Come on
now. So anybody that doesn't know this man, this is Caleb Christopher. He's an amazing, amazing guy. Incredibly smart and can dissect a deal very quickly. And so if you guys are out there and you want somebody to look at a deal that you have, or you want somebody to help you out with the paperwork on a deal, this is the guy for you. He's amazing. Okay. Came in here, came into sub 2, our mentorship, and immediately decided I'm going to be a leader. And he found places that he could lead in, and that he has done. So Caleb, how you doing, brother? Are you going to tell us about a sub 2 deal, a seller finance deal, a novation agreement? What are you going to tell us about?
None of those. It was creative. It wasn't sub 2. It wasn't seller finance. I was working as a creative closer, a lead manager and creative closer for a mastermind student before I became one.
Okay.
And that was kind of part-time because I had a full-time job. They called me and said, hey, I got a weird one for you. I like those. Let's hear the story. There's always a story behind every deal. That's my favorite thing about, even like when I used to work at a prison, I just like listening to stories. That's how I pass the time. People always have stories, and people complain to me like, that's not even true. I'm like, I don't care. I got 8 hours. It's a story. Come on. So I love hearing stories. And so I'm asking these people what their story is. And it's a pair of brothers who lost their mom the year before, and probate was wrapping up, and they were going to be required to sell the house. The mother that had died and one of the surviving brothers were on title. And neither of the two brothers had enough money to buy her half out. So they had to sell it. And they grew up in that house and they wanted to keep it. And the one brother that was living there, not the owner, he had 2 kids, 2 dogs, and all this other stuff. Couldn't afford. He was going to buy it. Went all the way through the process with the banks and everything. Got an appraisal for $138,000. And then the bank said, nope, sorry, because he just changed jobs. And now he can't buy the house.
Oh my gosh. Okay, hold on. Let me catch everybody up to speed on this. Okay, so Caleb is referencing he was a creative closer. Here's what that means. There were other people in the mentorship, in the mastermind, the Pace Morby mastermind. It's weird that when I reference myself as in third person, I kind of don't think of myself as a person. I think of myself as like a cardboard cutout. It's super weird. I don't know how that works. But anyway, we have a mastermind student. You join sub 2. You go, oh man, I want to just help other people build their business so I can focus on my day job in the day. And then in the afternoon, I have somebody else that provides the structure and the lead flow, so I can at least be active in the business without having to go and create an entire business from scratch. And I can get momentum. I can learn things by letting somebody else spend money on the leads. And so you were working their leads, and you came in touch with these 2 brothers is one of your leads. Do you know where the lead came from? Was it a probate list? Was it a cold call, a text message? Do you know where the lead initially came from?
They had a combination of cold calling and inbound, like Google ads or Facebook ads listings. So it was they had some coming from all over the country. So it was a little hard to comp some of these deals that were coming in.
Okay, great. So they had a direct to seller model, right? So in the Bigger Pockets book, I tell people the same thing I teach you guys, which is there's only 5 places where deals come from. And the first place where the majority of investors, not real estate agents or maybe people that are necessarily on Bigger Pockets. Most people on Bigger Pockets are getting their deals from the MLS or real estate agents. But most investors, like in the wholesale arena, are going off market and they're going directly to the seller. So this person that you're working for had cold callers doing outbound cold calls based on maybe probate lists, divorce, foreclosure, all the pain points. They're cold calling that list, generating leads. And then they also were paying for leads through like a PPC or pay-per-click ad that generated leads and inbound calls. So they both had outbound calls and they had inbound calls, both of which are direct to seller. They're marketing to seller. So you get in touch with these two brothers. The two brothers had their parents passed away. And unfortunately, the parents, okay, guys, this is an interesting thing. The parents did not ever put an estate plan together. And so what happens is if the parents have never done an estate plan, then the children have to go through and take their parents' estate through probate, which is the city or the state's policy and their process of making sure that all the estate's assets are sold, accounted for first, and then sold to either pay off debts or just to clear out that estate. And so the state told these two brothers, you guys have to sell the property. So one of the brothers decides, I'll buy it because I want to keep this. This is a house that we grew up in. I'll keep it. He goes and applies for the bank loan. The bank loan says, yeah, everything's good. In the midst of that, he changes jobs. And now the bank goes, sorry, we're not going to give you the loan anymore because you changed jobs. That sucks. Okay, so was that helpful, guys, for you guys to get caught up to speed with that? And am I right on everything, Caleb?
You nailed it to the T.
Okay, cool.
Perfect. That's exactly the story. So for me, it was like I got to know their story, right? And so creative finance is not my lead solution, right? I wouldn't talk to a lead. I wouldn't talk to one of either these guys' leads or anybody else's until they'd already made a cash offer, right? They have to reject a cash offer. I exclusively wanted to do creative finance, and that was going to be after cash because cash comes first always, right? If you can just do it in simple, be done with it. Because creative finance to a seller is weird. So I only wanted to talk to people where I could bring a creative solution because that's just why I love doing that. So I got their story and I'm like, I want to help keep you in this house. Let's find a way to do it. Let's work together to do that. And I said, I have a guy who has lent me money in the past. If I can get enough discount on the purchase price, you have an appraisal of 138, it was less than 30 days old. Your appraisal is for $138,000. If I can get enough discount that he is comfortable loaning 100% of the money, because guess what? I'm broke. Then I will buy the house and lease it back to you so you can stay into it. Then I will also give you a 5-year option to purchase it back from me because your intention in the first place was to keep it in the family. My intention, therefore, is also to keep it in the family. So I'm going to do two things. If I can get it on 100% finance, then I'll lease it back to you and give you the option to purchase. And then even if you don't purchase it back within that 5 years, or if something goes wrong and you miss payments and we have to dump all the paperwork crushes us, I will always, forever, as long as I'm the first owner, I will always give you a 30 days right of first refusal if I ever decide to sell. So even if you break the lease and all this other stuff, the whole purpose of our story here is to give you the option to keep it as a in your family.
What an amazing way to lead with value, right? You understand. So one of the most important parts of really writing that book with Bigger Pockets is I went through and we've been through a couple of different revisions and I felt like it was missing something. And the thing that it was missing was the most important thread of the whole entire book, which was how to find the bunnies, right? And so I then told the story about Janie Munson and how I got my first deal was by finding the bunnies. And essentially now every single time you get a deal, you are always looking for the bunnies and how to solve that problem for those people. So you unearthed their problem. You dug for it. You found their problem. And then you created a solution around solving that problem very specifically for them. And you were an advocate for exactly what they wanted. And so you said, okay, I don't have money. But I know that there's a way to make money on this deal. And I know that there's a way to keep these people in the house. So what you did is you went back to your bag of tools, and one of those tools that you had was an investor, a guy that said, I'll give you money at 100% of your purchase price because you got a good enough discount on this thing that I feel comfortable lending on it, right? Because no lender is going to come in and give you 100% of value or 100% of the loan because there's no insulation of risk, right? There's no protection against his money. So if the market dips, which right now I just read a whole article about how Zillow is predicting over the next 24 months, the majority of our markets are going to dip about 8%, which I think is probably pretty appropriate. So somebody that lends $138,000 in that situation, essentially, now they've loaned $138,000 to a house that now is worth $115 or $120 because the market has changed. So you knew that your investor was not going to give you $138,000. He was going to want to lend money, probably, I'm going to guess, somewhere around $100,000 or less.
Or less.
Or less. Okay, so Caleb will fill that in. So Caleb goes to an investor he knew and goes and obtains a loan or asks for a loan and says, hey, if I can buy this and then turn around and lease option it out, which is a creative finance exit strategy. The solution is creative, right? And then this is what I like about this is that Caleb is not necessarily looking at this from a traditional standpoint, right? Even though he bought it with cash, he didn't have to go to a bank, right? He didn't even have to go to a hard money lender. This is a private money lender that you went to. You bought it at a discount. You insulated yourself from maybe a future loss in a market shift, and you built in profit and equity, and you turned around and let the person stay in the property on a lease with an option to buy it, and you gave them 5 years to either A, build their credit, B, add another source of income, or C, get a raise at their existing job so they could go qualify at some point and then repurchase the property from you at a higher dollar amount. The thing that makes them excited in this situation, and I'm just filling in for other people, the thing that gets them excited is that they were qualified, but then they make a job change and they then get rejected. In that world, they're going to lose the house. They're going to have to be forced to sell it on the cash market, right? And they're going to sell the house. They'll get the cash. But unfortunately, what they would have lost is their childhood home. And they wouldn't have sold it for $138, even if it was appraised at $138. They probably would have sold it at $130, take out real estate commissions and all the other things. They probably would have netted somewhere around $115, maybe, right? And so they get $115, but they lose their family home. And so
moving expenses and having to find an apartment or some other place that'll accept dogs. He's got dogs and kids.
Oh, what a nightmare.
So, I mean, moving expenses, another $2,000. Finding a place with a pet deposit, another $2,000.
First and last month's security.
Absolutely. That stacks up quick.
$2,000 for moving expenses. That sounds about right. I'd say that's about right. I was thinking it would be a little bit more.
Local, using your trucks and having friends and family help, and I don't know.
So all of those things, right? You found the bunnies, you provided all these layers of problems, right? Boom, 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 boom. So when people ask, what are we doing in this business? Well, we're looking for people with pain. Did this person have pain? Like, were they going to lose their whole life and they were going to be like in despair? No. They would have been perfectly fine. They would have gotten a chunk of cash. They would have gone and rented somewhere else. They would have figured it out and they would have been just fine. It's not that they were desperate. It's just that they wanted something, right? And so you found their bunnies and you provided an answer to those you provided a solution to those problems. So you go out to somebody that you've borrowed money from before, and that person gave you a loan for how much money?
$95,000.
Wow. What are the terms of that? Is it a hard money loan or is it a high interest amortized loan?
I'll just lead with this. I've been very blessed. I started out at 8% interest only for that private money, interest only loan, because it was going to be short term. He was going to refinance me out. Not a problem. It's being leased, and I got it on 5-year terms at 8%.
Amazing. Okay, so you went out and got an 8% interest only loan.
Mm-hmm.
Love it. So your loan payment on that to that individual lender is somewhere around $875 or something like that. $900.
That's what I was planning. Hold on though. So I told the guy, by the way, the one living in the property was not the owner. He was not going to get any money. It was all cost for him.
Oh, got it. Okay.
The one that was going to get money was his brother that was the co-owner of the house with the mom. So I told him, I said, listen, because I talked to both of them. I said, I have to be able to cash flow a little bit of money to make this safe, right? I need a cushion. If I'm the owner and the water heat goes out, I have to be able to pay for that. So it's not like I can just do this as a break even. This is also my job, right? This is what I'm doing for a living. So I do have to make some money. I will show you my spreadsheet and my actual costs and projections and reserves. But in order for me to buy this, I need you to give me enough discount that my loan costs plus my operating costs leave some room for me to eat. And if you can come down to that number, I'm not hiding, I'm wide open with you, then I can do this deal. And they agreed to that.
Were they excited about it?
Kind of. It was still a solution. It was like they were still talking to other people, trying to find somebody to help them out. So I got my numbers, got my 8% loan, and I came back to them and I said, guys, I found a lender, but I don't think the numbers are going to be fair to you, because that $800 some odd monthly adds up pretty quick, and that drives their rent up fairly high, and like to $1,300 for me to, after costs, to be okay. And I said, I don't think this is going to be a fair offer. So if you have another option, you probably better go that way. And they're like, well, what's the number? And I'm like, I don't think it's fair to you and your family.
I love the pre-frame.
Yeah, but nobody else is trying to help us out. Mm-hmm.
I love the pre-frame on this, guys, because, the story that I told yesterday about Anna, Caleb, you were there yesterday, about how Anna, went in and did not negotiate with the seller on that particular deal.
Right.
You've got to pre-frame things
the whole time.
Yeah, you got to pre-frame things, and essentially by Caleb saying, "Hey, I don't think this is going to be a fair number to you." I'm assuming that these individuals were not paying rent at all because their parents had the house paid off. Is that correct? So they're living free. So they're essentially going to go from $0 a month in rent. I mean, they're paying utilities and taxes and insurance, I'm sure, but they weren't paying any payment to the bank. To now, all of a sudden, the bank of Caleb comes in, solves the problem, and they go all the way up to $1,300 just in rent. Then they have utilities on top of that. So they're going to be somewhere around $1,500 versus what they were probably paying, which was like $200, maybe $300 max. So you came in, you go, I don't think this is going to be fair to you. So in their mind, they're like, oh my gosh, they're like bracing for the worst. It's a great way to frame that, guys. You have to frame that properly. You have to set that tone before you present that offer to them. So you came in and you said, I don't think it's going to be fair to you. I love that. So keep going.
Because I know you can get a cash offer higher than what I can come in for. But I'm bringing in 100% financing, and I'm letting you be in the house. And so I made him ask me the number a couple of times before I gave it to him, because I also had to pay the wholesaler who brought the deal. Right? I'm still working for somebody else. I'm the one that's going to buy the deal, but I still have to pay an assignment fee to the person who runs the deal.
Interesting. I love this, dude. Okay? This is so great. So again, guys, where do deals come from? There's only 5 places deals come from, right? You've got direct to seller, direct to agent, or on market, right? Agents are on market. And then also so are auctions and sheriff sales and stuff like that, HOA sales, stuff like that. Those are on market. So direct to stuff that's already under contract. Wholesalers is the third one. And fourth one is like probate attorneys or referral partners. The fifth one is working for somebody else. And so Caleb goes out and gets a deal from somebody else that's generating the lead. So they have lead costs, they have overhead costs, and they're sitting there training Caleb. Now, Caleb probably came up with a lot of these solutions on his own. So he was able to flex his creative muscles on this situation. But Caleb's not the one that generated the lead, which is amazing. So if you guys are out there right now and you're like, how do I do this? Guys, Go work for a mastermind student. Caleb, how amazing
Absolutely.
was it for you to work for a mastermind student?
Dude, it cost me $0, and all I had to do was spend time on the phone and play with spreadsheets in order to get a deal. My first creative deal came from somebody else's money.
There you go. If that's not creative acquisition, I don't know what else is. There you go. So you go and work for somebody else. So you had to come in at a number that when your lender came in at the $95,000 mark or whatever it was, and you'll give us the numbers on that, the wholesaler who essentially created a platform for you to go get your first creative finance deal, you ended up being the buyer on this. And so if you ended up being the buyer on this, you had to throw back an assignment fee to the person that you were working for.
That's correct.
What a win-win, dude.
Yep.
So you pitched to them 95,000, or was 95,000 your total loan? So you had to come in lower.
I had to come in lower. So because I factored in $10,000 of assignment fee. So they made out. So here's the deal. We were set up for a 50-50 split on any deal that I closed. But because by the time it got to me, they didn't really have a creative closer at the time. So by the time it got to me, it was dead lead. So I'm pulling money out of the trash for them, basically. So my figure was that this lead would be worth somewhere between $10,000 and $15,000 assignment fee, just across the board in general. And so I had a discussion with the mastermind students, and I said, that's the price range you're going to get on assignment fee for this deal. But it is a weird story. I'm willing to take it, and rather than leave any doubt that I'm trying to get one over on you, I'd rather just opt for the $15,000 assignment fee. My half is $7,500. Your half is $7,500, right? And they said, yep. And I said, I just need to cover my closing costs out of pocket. So what I'm going to do is charge $10,000 assignment fee, because I'm going under contract for you guys. You guys' name goes on the signature block on the first contract, and then it's going to be assigned to me. So I got approved for $95,000, which means I need to buy it at $85,000, and then you're going to get $7,500, and I'm going to get $2,500. Does that make sense? Do those numbers make sense?
Yeah. So your lender gave you 95,000. It paid 85,000 to the seller in cash, to the guy that was living there. He got 85 grand. Then it paid 7,500 to the person you were working for. You essentially pulled trash out of you pulled cash out of the trash, right?
Yep.
And then the remaining 2,500 that your lender had designated to this deal, you used that to pay for the closing costs.
And I got paid at the end. There was a little left over to buy me some lunch.
Wow.
So zero out of pocket all the way through. And I started an LLC just for this deal, right? I went under contract before I had an LLC.
And your lender ended up basically paying for that LLC to be paid for, right?
Yeah.
All zero out of pocket.
So when I say zero out of pocket, it was a little out of pocket because I put some money up before close of escrow, but at close of escrow, I was more than paid back.
Love that. Absolutely love that. What a great creative solution. The first creative finance deal I ever did, very, very first creative finance deal I did was a similar deal. And I'll be very brief because I want to hear how you structured the exit on this and how it's been going since you've owned it. But my first deal, I learned from a guy. You guys know the story. I paid some guy $47,500 for a creative finance mentorship where you couldn't get a hold of the guy. He had one meeting a month, no phone calls, no Zooms. You couldn't get to know there's no community whatsoever. There was no paperwork. There's nothing. And I ended up getting my first deal because he's like, just go get hard money and then turn around and wrap the hard money. And I was like, okay. So I did it that way. And I went out and I got a 12% hard money loan on this house. And then I turned around and sold it to a buyer at like 13%. So I was making almost no money. And then I was like, so anyway, I'm at title on my first deal and I'm wrapping this thing. And I have this amazing escrow officer that goes, what are you doing? What are you doing? And I go, I'm doing what I'm being taught to do. And she says, don't ever do this. This is stupid. I'm like, well, what do you mean? What am I doing wrong? She says, you have 12% interest and you're trying to wrap this. Don't do that. I'll introduce you to a lender. So she introduces me to a guy named Alex Cohn. Okay. I still use him. 7% interest. And a guy that owns a big tile company and a cabinet company has so much money, he just goes out and lends to people like me. And so I go, oh my gosh. So I end up refinancing out the 12%. I put the 7% in there and I turn around and I wrap it at like 11%. And thank goodness for finding that lender, because that lender, I've used him so many stinking times. And what you did is you got a 5-year loan with him.
Yep.
And you're not paying down any principal because it's an interest-only loan at 8%. But the good thing is you didn't turn around and wrap that, okay? Because on a wrap, that would have been illegal, is to have an underlying loan that's not paying down. But you turned around and did a lease that also doesn't pay down anything. It's just a lease. And so they're essentially paying your hard money payment for you, plus a little bit extra, plus maintenance and taxes and insurance are all being covered. They have 5 years to execute their option, and you have 5 years until you need to do something with it. And the great thing about, there's so many great things about this. But if you, let's say that these tenants fail to pay, right? Because they weren't used to paying anything. But let's say they failed to pay. Caleb, you could have evicted them and then sold the property on the market for $135 or whatever it was. You would have more than paid off that $85,000. You would have walked away with $20,000 or $30,000. What a great structure.
That's
so
exactly it. And I insisted on owning it so that I would have that protection. I said, listen, the only way I can do this deal is if I actually buy it, because nobody's going to lend me money if I'm not the owner of the property, right? That doesn't make sense. And so I'm sorry, but you will have to be a renter for a while if we're going to do it this way. So, and that's why I needed that protection. I said, I'm going to give you a lease with an option to purchase. Your option is going to be contingent upon your ability to fulfill the lease.
How's it been going since you did this?
Oh, let's get to that in a minute.
Oh, I love it.
I haven't even finished closing them, right? In our story.
I love it.
So I told him it was going to be an unfair number. I made him drag it out of me because I needed them at 85,000. I said, you should probably go with somebody else, because I know you can get 115, 110, something like that. That seems like a fair offer for a cash deal. And they're like, yeah, but nobody else is willing to help us. They all just want to buy it. And I said, okay. So I told them the 85,000. And they said, let's do it. We're running out of time. We'll do it. So there it was. 85,000 purchase price, $10,000 of assignment fee, 95,000 total. My hard money or private money lenders coming in at 8%. 2 days before closing. Did I tell you I'm blessed? 2 days before closing, my lender calls me. He's my W-2 employer at the time, which I just quit how long ago? Like a month ago?
Yeah.
He's my W-2 employer. And he says, hey, I can do 6% on that.
Wow.
What? So I already did all the math, and we already have the contract and everything set up for an 8% loan. The only way I'm going to cash flow is they said they could afford $1,200 rent. I had to push them to $1,300 in order to make cash flow at $85,000, and I was going to make $75 profit, like pure cash flow at the end.
Like net. You had more.
Net after saving for expenses. Yeah.
There you go. You had your buffer accounted for. You had the crap money accounted for. The potential vacancy,
property
and
management,
all that.
Which is me. I'm paying myself for property management, but you never underwrite a deal without property management in it. I don't care if you're the one managing it or not. What if you have to step away? What if you have to have somebody else? You should not go negative cash flow because you failed to add property management as an expense.
Agreed.
Okay? So now my expenses go down to $475 a month instead of $600 or $700, whatever that was going to be. So my cash flow right now is like $435 a month net, including saving for a water heater and paying property management and all the other stuff.
Wow.
What a blessing.
Wow.
That changed last second. So I'm not going to go adjust the purchase price for them because we already had the agreement and all that stuff. But had he told me 6% in the first place, my purchase price would have been higher because I could afford, I could afford more. I was trying to build a solution for them. Also, somebody asked a question in the chat, which was, isn't it risky to rent it back to them? Absolutely.
I think it's risky to rent it back to them. What I always teach you guys from the very beginning is don't keep the owner in the property in the sense of I'm going to wrap the property and sell it back to you. You don't want to do that. Okay. And also what I don't want to do is in a sub 2, that's the challenge that you don't want to do. This is not a sub 2 deal, right? In a sub 2 deal, here's what happens. They already had a payment. Okay. Their payment was their payment that you are taking over. Okay. And now all of a sudden you're going to rent it back to them at a higher dollar amount, but they're no longer going to be the owner. That's where there's some problems, where people start having some jealousy, some animosity. For the first 3 or 4 months, you're fine. But after 4 or 5 months, people go, wow, I'm paying more than I was before on my own mortgage, but I don't even own the house anymore. And there's animosity that sets in, and you don't want that. Okay. So this is a different situation. Okay. He went out and bought this house cash with them. It is his house. He then turned around and did a lease option with them. So it's different than buying it sub 2 and then turning around and keeping them in the property. If you're buying something sub 2 and you have their underlying debt that's at a fixed rate that they were used to buying, that's the situation that I'm talking about. In buying it cash and letting them rent it from you with a lease option, that is perfectly okay. Is it somewhat problematic? Yes. But you know what? Owning real estate with tenants in it, no matter who the tenant is always going to be somewhat problematic, which is why you have a management fee and an oh crap budget and a vacancy budget and all of those types of things to insulate yourself from an inevitable 100% guarantee. If you want to own real estate, you will deal with these issues. So I love this. Now here's, while you're here, I know Sundays are usually off limits for Caleb, so I appreciate you coming in here. While you're here,
It's early.
Let's talk about this for a second. Wouldn't it be more honorable for you to say, well, I got a discount on my underlying debt, right? My private lender went from 8% to 6%, and I negotiated based on the fact that I was getting 8%. Isn't it more honorable for me to go back to my future tenant and say, hey, good news. I negotiated a lower thing for you so that you could afford to be here? Or is it better as a business owner that your job is your responsibility, first and foremost, is to yourself, your family, and the future employees that you hope to hire? And now Caleb has employees. You know exactly what it's like to have payroll and money coming in and money coming out. Which one is it? Is it I'm in here to like be a bleeding heart and just help everybody? Or is it I got to really make sure I take care of myself, my family, my obligations as a business owner first? Where do you lie? What do you do, Caleb?
That's a really good question. Between the two of them, it comes down to the timing. Had that discount come in before I went under contract with them, then I would have passed that along. But it came 2 days before closing. So
I think if it came before you contracted, you would have used it as a negotiating tactic to say, hey, if we can get this deal done now, my lender's saying he'll give me a lower rate. Can we get this deal done? I could see that you would have used that as a strategy to hurry. But I'm so glad that it didn't work out that way, because look at you, man. You get your first deal, you're cash flowing $435 a month. I know that doesn't pay for your entire lifestyle, but $435 a month, that's probably, what does that pay for in a household of your size? Cell phone payments?
Diapers and a little bit. I got 4 kids, 2 of them in diapers right now.
Okay. You got a lot of diapers and a lot of wipes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that. Okay, great. So how's that been going? Have they been paying? Has it been problematic? How's the property management been going?
It's been going pretty good. The guy he's in the construction trades, right? So he was pre-approved for a loan. So I came into this with high confidence of his ability to pay and in general, because he was pre-approved and his job change is what killed that. But he changed jobs in the same industry, right? So he went independent contractor as opposed to W-2 because there's a lot of construction lately, all right? The market's up. So he's doing a lot of renovations and that sort of stuff. So he wanted to work on the house and change doors. And I said, you just have to get written approval from me and email counts, right? So if you want to swap out doors or make changes to the property, I'm not giving you blanket permission, but otherwise, I generally want to see you improve the house because that's your ability to add equity so that you buy at a further deeper discount when it's time for you to buy. There's two ways for you to make this a sweeter deal for yourself. Improve the property because now you have a fixed price from me as your purchase price.
What was your price?
I said if he buys in the first 12 months, he can buy it at $125,000, which is still a discount under the appraisal, right?
Yeah.
So he's got tons of reasons to go with me. If he buys it within the first 24 months, so I go up by 5% compounding per year. So the second year, which we're coming up on next month, his price goes up to $131,250. The next year, $144,375. The next one, $151,594. And at 60 months, $159,173.
Love it.
So it's a stair step. The longer you take to buy it, the more money I make, but you're still buying it at a discount. So yeah, I got $30K equity out right out the gate.
I love it. So you built $30,000 in for yourself. So not only are you going to cash flow $435 a month, and you have been. You got into the deal with $0 out of pocket. You got paid a little bit up front. Didn't have to use any of your own credit. Right, you just used a private money lender, so it came in.
Yep.
Nobody checked anything about your bank records or any of that kind of stuff. This guy gets rejected because he shifts jobs, even in the same industry. He goes and shifts jobs. Banks reject him. You solve that whole entire problem. You get a lender at 6%. It amplifies your cash flow to $435. You built in $30,000 in equity. And what my favorite part of this deal, all of this is super creative and amazing. My favorite part of this deal, Caleb, is that you didn't let your 9-to-5 job stop you from taking action. And you didn't have this like pride of saying, well, I want to build my own business right now and I don't want to go work for somebody else. You actually looked at it from a standpoint of, this is one of the greatest ways for me to get started and get my momentum built is go provide value to somebody else's business, bring money to them. Now, this mastermind student was like, I'm out here generating leads. I need somebody to handle my creative finance leads, and I'm busy being the business owner. I need somebody that's willing to reach their hand into the trash and pull cash out of it by adding creative solutions. And you showed and proved on your first creative finance deals that every single investor has trash just sitting right in their trash, or they have cash sitting inside their trash can. It's crazy.
Yep.
Wholesalers are like, how can I do more deals? How do I use the same leads and do more deals? It's like, I guess find a Caleb Christopher that's going to come along and help you provide a solution. So you built the $30,000 in equity. You then also gave them a very strong incentive to come and buy you out faster. Yep. And if they don't, it's no loss to you. In fact, it's a gain for you.
Gain. Yeah.
What a great solution.
And that's why I insisted on ownership, because I need that control in order to have a good relationship here. And guess what you normally do? You already know. What do you normally do in a lease option situation? What's different on the front end as opposed to just a regular lease?
What's different is that you take an option fee up front.
I didn't do that here. I said, I understand you're strapped for cash. We're imposing a new monthly payment, all these things. I won't take an option fee up front.
Amazing.
I could have, but I didn't do anything extra there. I just wanted a deposit, security deposit, which is 1 month rent plus the first month to get started. So, and he's been paying, he missed his first payment last month, and it's been 11 months.
Have you talked to him why he missed his payment?
Yep, absolutely. Talked to him. He said work slowed down, and he's got one job that hasn't paid him. And having been a contractor, you know how people holding back payments goes. So he ended up selling his second truck in order to make the payment. And he made it 29 days late.
Wow.
But he was communicative the whole time. So technically, if he's in default of his contract, I had conversations with him, and he said he was working on it. And then he went dark on me for a week, and I said, listen, I need you to acknowledge. Well, I don't need you to acknowledge. This is your cure notice according to our default, our contract. if you can't cure this default within 15 days, your option expires, your option to purchase. I'm in this for you, but we need to make sure this stays according to the rules, which is why I wrote them. And I wrote a lot of stuff favorable to you, but I just want you to be aware of that's where things are. So you're going to have to move some stuff around to make it happen, because I'm on the verge of selling some tools because I've got another renter that didn't pay and a flip that's going slow. And, I got plenty of stuff going on, so I'm not rolling in dough myself. It is cash flowing, but a lot of expenses are going out. So kind of down to earth with him about, look, stuff is expensive and hard. And I understand that, but we got to make this work or your option expires. And I don't want to be forced to sell the house because I can't afford to make the monthly payments for a long time. So he goes and sells his truck and gets it paid.
I love it. I love every part of it. Amazing.
And that's it. That's where I'm at. So he can still buy it. He cured within the default period, and we're back to the regular work.
So before we wrap this up, let's talk about worst case scenario. Okay. So for people that watch this in the future, or people that are currently watching this now, this is a challenging
right from the beginning.
Yeah. The thing that's interesting about this is that people, I looked it up this morning. Okay. What do you guys believe the top 1%, right? The wealthiest people in America, what do you believe they retire with on average in terms of cash? So they're 65 years old. The top 1%, what do you guys think they retire with in net worth? 1.3? Good guess. 10 million? You'd be way off on 10 million. It's $2.2 million. $2.2 million. And I was
cash in the bank or net worth?
Net worth.
Okay.
Crazy, isn't that? It's crazy to me that, because think about it, right? If you have an annuity paying you, let's say 8% on $2.2 million or something like that, right? You have an investment paying you at least 8, maybe 9%. I mean, you're bringing in somewhere around $20,000 a month. You can survive pretty well on $20,000 a month with no kids, no diapers, no house payment, those types of things. So it's easy to retire at $2 million. And so people always ask, like, well, what is so great about real estate? I'm like, basically what you're doing is you're crowdsourcing your retirement. It's like, what's way faster than me trying to save for my own retirement? I just get a bunch of tenants together. I go, hey guys, I'm delegating my retirement to you. I'm just going to crowdsource my retirement. You guys are now responsible for my retirement. And so what you've done is you've built in not only $30,000 in equity, right? But you've also insulated yourself from a risk. So if they don't buy this deal, you could turn around and probably sell this thing. Now, if you structured it a year ago, I imagine that it's probably its appraisal value is probably closer to like 140. Maybe it's probably gone up $5,000. You could probably sell it as is for like
at the time. So yeah.
Yeah. So you probably will sell this thing for 130, like pretty quickly on the market, maybe 127 if you want to get rid of it really quick. So you've got over $30,000 sitting there on this deal that you could then roll into another deal and compound, or maybe that could even help you do 2 other deals and compound and compound. This is how you build wealth. You put these types of deals together, and you've got a $30,000 deal plus $435 paying you every single month with no money out of your pocket because you provided a creative solution to somebody who needed it. And in no way were you able to, or in no way did you structure this to take advantage of anybody. How freaking amazing is that?
Wide open. I wanted to make sure there was, like, because the risk of keeping the same person in the property was structured into the deal. Mm-hmm. I also realized that for my wholesaler sub-2 mastermind student, I realized that, this might be harder to sell off because that's the way it's built. So I'm willing to buy it, and I'll give you the higher of the likelihood end of the assignment fee. And let's just go with that.
What a great structure.
Yeah.
I love it all the way around. I love that everybody made money. This is why, for me, Caleb, like for you, like you came in and worked for the mastermind student specifically because you're like, I just want to work on creative because it's more fun. It's way more fun, right? In a cash scenario, All you're doing is, as a wholesaler, and look, I wholesale too. We fix and flip cash too. We do the BRRRR strategy. I do all of those things. I just released a couple YouTube videos about the BRRRR. We've got a duplex that we just did on the BRRRR, and we're going to build another ADU on that same property. It'll end up being a fourplex on the property.
Nice.
And all done with the BRRRR. I like the BRRRR. I just don't like the BRRRR for brand new people, because what you're essentially having to do is you can't do what you just did here. Right? You can't take a lead that was essentially dead for anybody else, right? Because what wholesalers and realtors are constantly looking for is they're looking for the low-hanging fruit. They're walking through this orchard and they're just pulling the apples that they can immediately get their hands on. They're not just stretching up just a little bit to grab the next one, the next one, the next one. So when you walk through real estate and everybody's walking through and they're looking at the bottom of the trees, they're like, there's no deals here. Caleb just reaches up a little bit more. There's a nice juicy deal right here. And he goes, I didn't even have to use any money for this. And the person who, provided the lead is like, there's no more deals on these trees. Right? There's no more deals here. Or I know there's deals here. I just don't have time. I'm just so used to pulling the easy fruit down and picking the easiest stuff out, and focusing on fast, and chasing my tail all the time, trying to get that next cash deal, that I'm not taking that extra little bit to provide a creative solution, because it requires a little bit of ingenuity. But for me, it's actually way easier. Creative finance is easier to me than cash. And, Steve Trang would always tell people, Pace is the greatest closer I've ever known. And I'm like, I'm really not. I'm the most creative closer. Caleb is also a very, very creative closer. You are going to close more deals by providing an option where everybody wins. The seller wins in this situation. The wholesaler who provided the lead won big time. And you win every single freaking month. Everybody wins in this situation. In cash, unfortunately, I feel as if I'm trying to buy as deep as I possibly can. And so I'm the winner. I win in terms of finances. Yeah. I win on the financial side. The seller wins only on one side, and it's convenience. But on the financial side, they're having to take a hit and they have to pay for that convenience out of their pocket, right? And so you set it up in a way where everybody wins financially. Every single person on this transaction wins financially. Genius.
That's it. Thank you. I give credit to Sub2. This community is amazing. You created a community of people who want and need each other, and you brought us the training and showed us the tips and tricks on how to do it. So without this community, that never would have happened.
Well, here's the thing too, Caleb, is that I know you know this, and I appreciate you giving me words of affirmation. You know that's my love language. But the thing for you, bro, you're an action taker and you're a leader. And you didn't just go, oh, wow, these Zooms that I'm sitting on with Pace are highly amazing, and I'm getting all these nuggets. You were like, oh, I got all these nuggets. Let me go actually utilize these. Let me go put these to action and go flex my creative muscles. And you turn this into like a fun game of like, how creative can I be and how many solutions can I provide?
Well, guess where that calculator I built came from? Necessity. I was working these leads and I needed to save time because I didn't have something to crunch all the numbers in one place.
Right. Amazing. Amazing. And this community is nothing without our leaders. It's nothing without our leaders. And, somebody says to me in the very beginning of the mentorship, there's some people in here that have been in here from the very beginning. There were people in when we were like, we're now 5,500 strong, right? And somebody said, Pace, when you're going to cap this, right? When we get to like 500 students. And I said, no, I'm going to create leaders that create leaders. And how many people are you talking to on a daily basis, Caleb, that you're doing transactions with inside of this community? Because I set that tone. And now you are helping create more leaders that then will turn around and help create more leaders. Kevin Cho. There's Kevin Cho. He joined a year after we started. So he's been in here for about a year and a half. Caleb left another not Caleb, but Kevin left another mentorship where he was like, when he came in, he's like, dude, it's night and day. People actually want to help. And here's Caleb a year and a half after being in here. is saying, oh yeah, I'm using Caleb all the time as a creative resource. He's a major, major leader for me. He solves problems for me, helps me out with paperwork, helps me out with structure. This is why at the very beginning of this Zoom, I read you guys a DM from a brand new student. It's like, hey, Pace, I've got a 24 unit deal. And I'm like, great. What did your accountability team say? What did your accountability leader say? He's like, oh, I don't have one. I'm like, oh my gosh, bro, you've been in here for 5 minutes? Go get an accountability leader. Go get a squad. Go create your core group of friends that you're doing deals with. You need to make sure you are tapped into the community, because that's where your deals will get done. Just, guys, give me the deals you don't want. You guys need to be doing deals with each other, selling deals with each other. Give me the stuff you guys don't want, okay? Caleb, you're the man. This was an amazing story. I love it. Very, very good. Very good. Good to see you, brother. Have a great Sunday.
I will. Thank you.
He's going to go change 4 diapers. He'll probably change 6 diapers today. Maybe 12. It could be 12.
No. That's a bad day.
That's
Only 2 in diapers, 12 diapers. That's a bad day.
Good to see you, brother. Thank you so much. How awesome is that, guys? That's pretty cool.